Noah Langston pulled his baseball cap low over his eyes as he stepped through the glass doors of the Chicky Pop restaurant, his expression calm but his eyes sharp with suspicion. There was something off about the place. Not because the trademark yellow and red decor had changed, but because of the sluggish, neglected atmosphere that seemed to seep into every corner. The floor tiles were scratched and grimy, the kind of dirt that should have been cleaned hours ago. A greasy film clung to the service counter, making his stomach churn. Noah wasn't just another customer. He was the founder of Chicky Pop. What had started as a modest food truck in Dallas had grown into a billion-dollar restaurant chain under his leadership. But this particular franchise, on East Side, had been on his radar for some time. Slumping sales, growing customer complaints. Something wasn't right, and internal reports didn't tell the whole story. "I'll take a 6-piece nugget meal with fries," he said casually, keeping his tone neutral. The cashier, barely out of her teens, didn't even look up from her phone as she tapped in the order with a blank stare. No smile, no thank you, no soul in her service. None of the customer-first standards Noah had mandated at every Chicky Pop location nationwide. He quietly handed her a $10 bill and noticed she didn't even count the change before sliding it across the counter. No respect, no pride, no sense of the Chicky Pop spirit. This was the first red flag, and it was enough to deepen Noah's concern. The dining area was oddly empty for the lunch rush. He picked a quiet corner booth, an ideal vantage point for observing unnoticed. Dressed in faded jeans, a plain gray t-shirt, and with a few days' stubble on his face, the 53-year-old looked more like a construction worker on his break than the polished CEO whose portrait hung in the company's headquarters. "Number 42? A voice called out from behind the counter. Noah retrieved his tray and returned to his seat. The familiar scent rising from the nugget box should have made his mouth water. He was instantly transported back to the early days in his mother's kitchen, testing spice blends late into the night. It wasn't just a recipe, it was the soul of the brand. But this time, something wasn't right. He lifted the lid. The nuggets were darker than usual, slightly shriveled and dry. Picking one up, he instantly noticed it felt unusually light. One bite, and the truth hit him like a punch to the gut. The flavor was off. The texture spongy, with a strange aftertaste. This wasn't Chicky Pop chicken. He fought the urge to spit it out, placing the nugget back in the box. Then, lifting the paper liner at the bottom of the tray, he spotted something that ignited the full force of his anger. A hidden shipping slip with a company name he'd never authorized. Value Poultry Distribution. Noah's jaw tightened. He had only approved 2 poultry suppliers, neither of which was Value Poultry. Every franchisee knew that. It was clearly outlined in their thick contract. Using unapproved vendors was grounds for immediate termination. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A message from Alicia, the company's VP of operations and the architect behind his undercover visit. "How's it going? Any red flags?" Noah typed back. "Serious. They're not using our product. Look into Value Poultry right away." 3 dots flashed on the screen as Alicia typed a response. Noah scanned the restaurant again, studying the employees. Were they all in on it, or just following orders from the top? At the drive-through window, a young man around 19 looked nervous, his eyes flicking toward the back office. Inside, a woman in her 40s typed quickly at a desk. That had to be Renee Polson, the branch manager. He'd reviewed her file that morning. Over a decade with Chicky Pop. Consistently strong performance, until 8 months ago, when complaints about food quality started to appear. Now Noah understood why. He discreetly snapped photos of the nuggets, the shipping label, and the visibly anxious employee. It was all evidence now. Then he dialed the restaurant's main line. The phone on the counter rang. "Aboard," female voice answered. But when Noah dropped his casual tone and introduced himself, everything changed. "This is Noah Langston. I need to speak with Renee Paulson." Immediately, a brief pause, then muffled voices. Noah watched as the young drive-through worker rushed into the back office, pointing toward the dining area. Renee stood up fast, her face pale as she spotted the man she hadn't recognized, the one now raising his hand, calmly, from the booth by the window. She picked up the phone. "Mr. Langston, this is Renee. How can I help you?" "I'm in your restaurant window booth. Please join me." He held her gaze, firm and unwavering. She adjusted her shirt, pasted on a forced smile, and made her way to the booth with visibly stiff posture. "Mr. Langston, what a surprise," she began. But Noah cut her off cold. "If I'd warned you, you probably wouldn't have served me knockoff chicken instead of the real Chicky Pop product." He pushed the box toward her. "Sit down, Renee. We need to talk about value poultry distribution and why you're using their chicken instead of mine." The room seemed to freeze. Renee sat slowly, her face drained of color. Staff members whispered behind her, sensing the gravity of the situation. Noah placed his phone between them and started recording. "Let's start with a simple question," he said, voice like ice. "How long have you been deceiving my customers?" Renee's hands trembled as she clasped them. The restaurant noise faded. Across from her sat the man who built the brand from scratch, the man whose values she had betrayed. "Mr. Langston, this must be a misunderstanding," she said, voice tight. "We haven't changed our suppliers." Noah slid the shipping slip across the table, then explained this. "Value Poultry is not one of our approved vendors, and I just tasted your nuggets. I created that recipe. I know the real thing from a fraud." Renee's gaze darted toward the exit, calculating her options. "Supply issues, sir. Ever since the pandemic, deliveries have been unreliable. Sometimes we have to be flexible to stay open." "Flexible?" Noah arched an eyebrow. "Our contract spells it out. All supplier issues must be reported to headquarters." "There's no record of any contact from this location. Not a single call. Not one email." She stumbled through excuses. Delivery issues, system glitches, miscommunication. Noah had heard it all before. "Let me see your supply logs from the past 3 months," he said. They're being updated. I can get them to you tomorrow." Noah leaned back, eyes sharp. He'd sat across from hundreds of negotiators in his career. Renee wasn't just nervous. She was hiding something. "Let me be clear," he said, placing the nugget box into his coat pocket. "I'm taking these for testing. I'll have results in 24 hours. If there's anything you want to confess, now's your chance." Renee straightened, a flicker of defiance in her eyes. "We maintain Chicky Pop standards here, Mr. Langston. Maybe your taste buds are just off today." Noah stood, his expression unreadable. "We'll see," he replied. "Starting tomorrow morning, a corporate quality assurance team will be stationed here. They report directly to me." "That won't be necessary," she began. It wasn't a request. He walked toward the exit. As he passed the drive-through window, he caught the nervous young man's gaze. But in that brief moment, Noah saw something deeper than fear. He saw hope. Outside, the Houston heat pressed down like the weight of the truth he was about to uncover. He got into his car and called Alicia. "I need a mobile testing lab at the Starlight Hotel in an hour, and I want a full investigation on Renee Paulson, financials, personal ties, everything. Something's not right." Exactly 1 hour later, Dr. Maya, a food analysis expert, knocked on the door of Noah's suite. She wheeled in a large case, essentially a portable lab, and pulled on latex gloves. "This won't take long," she said briskly. "We're looking for compositional analysis, correct?" Noah nodded, his voice steady. "I need to know if this matches our proprietary blend." And for the next 40 minutes, he paced the room, the fire in his chest fueled not just by betrayal, but by a fierce desire to protect what he had spent a lifetime building. Every nugget, every promise to every customer was now at stake. Then came the message from Alicia. Got something. Renee's brother-in-law owns a poultry plant called Horizon Foods outside Houston. And guess who owns Value Poultry Distribution? Noah stopped cold. It wasn't a mistake. It was a scheme. Good. A calculated betrayal, Mr. Langston. Dr. Mayer's voice pulled him back to the present. I've got the results. She handed him a tablet displaying two side-by-side chemical composition charts. On the left was the original Chicky Pop nugget sample. On the right was the sample taken from the store earlier that day. The differences were as stark as night and day. No need to highlight anything, Noah said, eyes fixed on the charts. I can see it. These aren't just different batches, Dr. Mayer explained, though it was hardly necessary. They're entirely different products. Noah swallowed his disappointment. Can you trace the source? Not specifically, she replied. But I can confirm they're using lower-grade chicken with nearly 40% more filler. They tried to mimic your flavor profile, but it's a crude imitation. Once the doctor left, Noah immediately called Alicia. It's confirmed, he said, his voice strained with controlled fury. They're selling knockoffs under the Chicky Pop name. Alicia didn't hesitate. I've already dispatched an audit team to that location, first thing tomorrow morning. And you should know, at least 3 other stores in the Houston area show similar patterns. All have ties to Renee. Noah sank down onto the edge of the bed. He stared at his hands. Hands that once held his mother's in the kitchen, where it all began. How had they let it go this far? Every report had been spotless. On paper, everything was perfectly in line. Until he tasted the food. He pictured thousands of customers, parents, children, workers, students, who trusted Chicky Pop. They paid real money for what they believed was real value, but what they received was deception, a cold betrayal of loyalty. I'm going back tomorrow, he said, more to himself than to her, but not as me. I need to see how deep this goes before Renee has a chance to cover her tracks. With that decision came a surge of energy. Noah hadn't built Chicky Pop from a food truck by backing down from confrontation. No one was going to steal his mother's recipe, betray his customers' trust, and walk away unscathed. The next morning, before the sun had even cleared the Houston skyline, Noah was back at the restaurant. This time he wasn't in jeans and a t-shirt. He wore pressed khakis, a neatly tucked-in dress shirt, non-prescription glasses, and a temporary ID badge labeled Quality Assurance Division. The perfect disguise for a corporate inspector. In his ear, Alicia's voice came through the earpiece calmly. You're connected to their system. No one will notice your login. I disguised it as part of a routine system update. Perfect, Noah murmured, adjusting his glasses. The morning shift was already underway. A young supervisor named Marcus greeted him, visibly nervous. Mr. Johnson from HQ? He asked, using the alias Noah had provided earlier. That's right, Noah said, shaking his hand. Routine quality audit. I'll need access to your storage and supply logs. Marcus led him past the kitchen, where employees gave the clipboard-wielding stranger cautious glances. Noah noted that Renee wasn't present, likely assuming yesterday's visit had left her in the clear. All the better. It would give her no time to react. All invoices are digital now, Marcus explained as he logged into a computer in the back storage room. But I think Ms. Polson keeps some paper backups in her office. Noah nodded, taking a seat. I'll start here. Meanwhile, could you bring me samples of all protein items currently in stock, raw and cooked, please? Once Marcus left, Noah opened his tablet's data interface. In the dim light of the cold storage room, sleeves rolled up and eyes steeled with resolve, he wasn't just a businessman. He was a son, a father, a guardian of a legacy. And today, he would expose the betrayal. He connected the tablet to the data terminal, letting Alicia's custom software do its work. Within minutes, every invoice, purchase order, and delivery receipt from the past year began downloading. I'm in, he whispered into his mic, eyes scanning the incoming files. But what he saw made his blood boil. The official Chicky Pop system showed everything was normal. Authorized suppliers, timely deliveries, correct ingredients. But the actual receipts told a different story. They are keeping 2 sets of books, Noah said tightly. The system shows deliveries from our approved vendors, but the physical records show shipments from Value Poultry. Confirmed, Alicia responded in his ear. I've cross-checked with corporate data. There haven't been any deliveries to that store from our suppliers in over 7 months. Noah clicked deeper, uncovering a hidden folder labeled Simply VP. Inside were the real invoices, shockingly low-cost payments for knockoff products that bore no resemblance to the premium ingredients Chicky Pop had spent years developing. A new message from Alicia popped up. No, Poultry isn't just supplying this one store. I've found links to 5 other locations around Houston. All of them show official orders in the system, but no actual shipments from our approved suppliers. Noah's heart sank. This wasn't a rogue manager. It was a network, a sophisticated fraud operation. He followed the money trail. Each franchise had sent the expected payments to Chicky Pop headquarters to avoid suspicion. But large portions of the real food costs, nearly 40%, had been funneled to Value Poultry. The difference was being pocketed. Then came the final piece from Alicia. Value Poultry was incorporated 18 months ago by Daniel Reeves, Renee Polson's brother-in-law. He also owns Horizon Foods, the poultry plant that lost its FDA certification last year for repeated sanitation violations. Noah leaned back in his chair, the full picture crashing over him like a wave. This wasn't just fraud. They had been serving potentially dangerous food to unsuspecting families, sourced from a facility that had no business operating. The storage room door opened. Marcus reappeared, carrying a tray of raw and cooked chicken samples. This is everything we've got right now, he said. Noah thanked him, then asked gently, How long have you worked with Ms. Paulson? About 9 months, Marcus answered hesitantly. She brought me here from another location when she took over. And how has it been? Noah asked. She runs a tight ship, Marcus said, but the hesitation in his voice said more than his words. Noah pressed further. Noticed anything strange with deliveries? Changes in suppliers or processes? Marcus glanced around nervously. I don't handle that directly. Ms. Paulson takes care of it all. She doesn't like anyone else getting involved. What happens if someone wants to raise concerns about supplies or quality? Marcus's expression tightened. We're told to bring everything to her directly, not to corporate. She says it's better for team unity. He lowered his voice. Just between us, the last guy who said something about the supplier suddenly got his hours cut until he quit. Noah nodded, making a note. Thanks for your honesty. I might have more questions later. After Marcus left, Noah used a specialized app to photograph each sample, measuring color, texture, and uniformity. Not one met Chicky Pop's standards. He was packing the samples for further lab testing when his tablet pinged with an urgent message from Alicia. Check your email. Found internal emails between Renee and other managers. Noah opened the files, and there it was. Undeniable proof. Renee had recruited other franchise managers into her scheme, promising a share of the profits if they switched to cheap Value Poultry products, while continuing to forge official supplier records. How many locations total? Noah typed. Confirmed 12. All in Texas. It started with this store and expanded. Total fraud estimated at over $1,200,000. 0 cents. Noah felt like the air had been punched out of his lungs. His company, his life's work, was being exploited by people he once trusted. The brand, his name, his mother's recipe, all used for personal gain. Another message flashed across the screen. Renee Polson just entered the building. Noah stood up. He adjusted his fake glasses, gathered the evidence, and walked toward the front of the store. This wasn't just about confronting Renee Polson anymore. He was going to bring down her entire network and take back what was rightfully his. Renee Paulson had arrived 10 minutes earlier. Noah had watched her through the office window as she logged into her computer, likely checking for any updates from corporate following yesterday's surprise visit. When she stepped out, she wore her usual professional smile and greeted employees as if nothing had happened. But her eyes kept darting toward the front entrance, clearly on edge, as if bracing for more uninvited guests. "Mr. Johnson," Renee said as she approached. "I heard you're from the Quality Assurance Division. I wasn't informed about this inspection." Noah kept his expression neutral. "Annual random audit, Ms. Paulson. New policy. We don't give advance notice anymore." "Essie." Renee smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Well, we're always happy to demonstrate our commitment to Chicky Pop's standards. Is there anything specific you'd like to review?" Frustrated and hopeful. "I'd like to interview each of your staff," Noah said calmly but firmly. "Corporate is rolling out a new feedback system, and we're collecting honest input from all levels." A flicker of unease passed through Renee's gaze. "Today's a bit busy. Maybe we could schedule—" "It won't take long," Noah interrupted, offering a practiced, polite smile. "Just need access to the employee break room. About 10 minutes with each team member will do." Renee stiffened, then nodded reluctantly. "If that's what you need, I'll have Marcus assist you." Over the next 2 hours, Noah interviewed 8 employees. Each one was courteous, but their responses were suspiciously identical. "Great place to work. No issues with supplies. Ms. Paulson runs a tight ship." The language felt rehearsed, too perfect to be genuine. But then the afternoon shift began, bringing in fresh faces who hadn't been prepped yet. Among them was a young woman, Tasha, who avoided Noah's gaze the moment their eyes met. Her name tag looked new, her uniform slightly oversized. She was clearly new to the job and unfamiliar with the unspoken rules. "Tasha," Noah called gently as he saw her washing her hands before heading into the kitchen. "Could I have a few minutes with you, if that's okay?" In the break room, the young woman sat nervously across from him, her hands clenched together, twisting the hem of her apron. "How long have you been working here?" Noah began softly. 3 weeks, sir. It's my first real job." Her voice trembled with both nerves and sincerity. "How's the training been? Are things up to standard?" "I guess okay. I mean, I don't really have anything to compare it to." Noah leaned in, lowering his voice. "Tasha, everything you tell me today will remain confidential. Your manager won't hear about it." She looked up, fear clearly in her eyes. "Mrs. Paulson, she has ways of finding things out." "What do you mean?" Tasha took a deep breath. "I really need this job. My mom's sick, and I'm helping cover her medical bills. But something's not right here. The chicken we get, it comes in plain boxes. Nothing like the branded packaging from the training videos. James, the guy who worked here before me, told me never to mention it if I wanted to keep working." Noah kept his expression composed. "Did James say anything else?" Said someone got fired for asking too many questions. Last week, we had to sign a bunch of papers. Ms. Paulson called it a standard non-disclosure agreement for employees, but James said they never had to sign anything like that before." Noah jotted down notes, a slow fury building inside him. "Have you noticed anything else unusual?" Tasha looked around again, then whispered, "There's a guy who delivers on Tuesdays and Fridays. He doesn't drive a Chicky Pop truck. And every time he shows up, we're told to stay up front. Miss Paulson handles everything herself in the back." Noah stopped writing, another piece of the puzzle falling into place. Last question, Tasha. Has anyone ever tried reporting these concerns to corporate?" Her eyes widened. "Carlos used to be the assistant manager before Marcus. I heard he called the quality hotline. 2 days later, Ms. Paulson said he'd been transferred to another location, but Dion in the kitchen said he saw Carlos crying in the storage room. And then he just disappeared." Noah gave a small nod. a confirmation of what he'd long suspected. When Tasha left the room, he didn't say a word. He simply stared down at his notes, a quiet storm brewing in his chest. A true leader isn't defined by their title, but by their willingness to protect those who place their trust in them. And now, with documentation, testimonies, and a clear understanding of the fraud's roots, Noah was ready to act. There was only one step left: to confront the person who had betrayed that trust. After the emotional conversation with Tasha, Noah continued the remaining interviews. The deeper he dug, the clearer and more tangled the picture became. Multiple employees referenced others who had tried to speak up, only to be mysteriously transferred or have their hours cut to the point where they had to quit. The final person Noah interviewed was Dion, a seasoned cook who had been with Chicky Pop for over 5 years. At first, Dion was guarded like everyone else, but Noah sensed something different. A fire buried beneath caution. "Dion," Noah said directly, locking eyes with him. "I know about the value poultry deliveries, the fake invoices, the intimidation. What I need to know is, how far does this go?" Dion stared at him for a long moment. "Who did you say you were again?" Noah exhaled, then gently removed his fake glasses and leaned forward. "I'm Noah Langston, founder of Chicky Pop, and I need your help to clean this place up." Dion's eyes widened in disbelief. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. Sir, I didn't recognize you." "That was the point," Noah said. "Now, tell me everything." And so the truth poured out. Dion revealed how Renee had gradually replaced the entire management team with her own people. She'd implemented security protocols that blocked access to real invoices. She'd fostered a culture of fear, where one wrong question could cost you your job. "We tried to report it," Dion said, his voice heavy with frustration. "Carlos sent photos in an email. I called the hotline twice. Nothing happened." Noah opened his tablet and showed him what they'd found. "That's because Renee had admin access to the regional reporting system. She deleted every complaint before it could reach us." Dion's face darkened. "So we'd been serving garbage to customers for months, and no one at corporate even knew?" "I know now," Noah said, jaw tight. "And it stops today." A chime echoed. A new message from Alicia. "Police and FDA investigators are standing by. Legal team has prepared cease and desist orders for all 12 locations, waiting on your signal." Noah stood, placing a hand on Dion's shoulder. "Stay through the end of your shift. You won't regret it." As he stepped out of the break room, Noah spotted Renee watching him from her office. She was on the phone, eyes locked on him, suspicion and fear creeping into her posture. She knew something was off, but had no idea the storm about to hit. Noah walked outside and called Alicia. "It's time. Bring in the team." Less than 20 minutes later, 3 black SUVs rolled into the Chicky Pop parking lot. Alicia emerged first, followed by corporate legal counsel, 2 internal security officers, and a team of forensic accountants. Each of them had been thoroughly prepped for this moment, and they were ready. Standing at the entrance, Noah adjusted his tie. No more disguises, no more aliases. This was Noah Langston, in full. And justice was about to be served. "Everyone clear on their roles?" he asked. Elisa nodded. "The other 11 locations are being handled simultaneously." The doors opened. As the team stepped inside, the restaurant fell silent. Customers paused mid-bite. Employees froze. The cheerful background music suddenly felt cruelly out of place. Noah strode to the center of the dining area. "I'm Noah Langston, founder and CEO of Chicky Pop. I need all employees to gather here immediately." A wave of whispers rippled through the staff. Several recognized him from the photo hanging in the break room. Renee stepped out, pale but trying to maintain composure. "Mr. Langston, what's going on? If there's been some kind of misunderstanding." "There's no misunderstanding, Miss Paulson," Noah said firmly. Security will escort you to the conference room. We have a lot to discuss." As Renee was led away, Noah addressed the staff. Some looked confused, others terrified. But in Dion's and Tasha's eyes, there was something else. Relief and hope. "I want to be honest with all of you," Noah began, his voice steady yet compassionate. "For months, this location has been serving counterfeit products under the Chicky Pop name. Some of you sensed something was wrong. Some of you tried to speak up, and you were silenced." A heavy silence fell. "This is not your fault," he continued. "You were manipulated and threatened by a management team that put profit above integrity and trust. That ends today." Alicia stepped forward. "This branch will be temporarily closed for a comprehensive audit. You will all be placed on paid leave during this period. HR will conduct individual interviews over the next few days. Those who cooperate honestly will be retained. Those involved in the fraud will face legal consequences." In the conference room, Renee sat rigidly. Her attorney was present via phone, advising her to remain silent. Noah sat across from her, opening his laptop. "You have the right to remain silent," Noah said calmly. "But that won't change what we've uncovered." He opened files, falsified invoices, deleted complaints, financial transfers to Value Poultry. With each document, Renee's expression crumbled further. "We've frozen all accounts linked to you, your brother-in-law, and the shell companies you established," Noah continued. "The FDA has been notified of Horizon Foods violations. Police are executing search warrants at all 12 related locations." Renee was speechless. Her usual poise and feigned confidence dissolved like makeup in the rain. She sat silently in the conference room, her lawyer repeatedly reminding her not to speak, but something within her snapped. Her voice broke, sharp yet desperate. "You don't understand. We had no other choice. The pandemic drove us to the brink. Ingredient prices doubled overnight. Headquarters still demanded the same profit margins. No one helped us." Noah didn't blink. He leaned forward, his words heavy as stone. "So you chose to serve substandard food to families? To children?" Food was still edible, just cheaper. Renee's voice faltered as Noah slid lab test results toward her. Chicken with fillers making up nearly half the weight, containing banned preservatives, produced in a facility that lost its FDA license due to repeated sanitation violations. His voice now was cold steel. "You didn't just betray quality, you endangered an entire community." The door opened. Marcus, the assistant manager, was brought in. Upon seeing Renee, he recoiled. "Mr. Langston," Marcus stammered, "I want to cooperate. I truly didn't know things were this bad." "Start from the beginning?" Noah nodded, activating the recorder. For nearly an hour, Marcus detailed how Renee operated the scheme, recruiting other managers with promises of profit. He confirmed the manipulation of the complaint system and the intimidation or dismissal of employees who asked questions. Meanwhile, at 11 other branches across Texas, similar scenes unfolded. Raids, lockdowns, evidence collection. Alicia coordinated everything from a banquet room repurposed as a temporary operations center. "We have sufficient evidence," she reported to Noah. "The FDA has collected samples from every location. Local media has just begun reporting. We need to issue a statement immediately." Noah nodded, the weight of 2 decades of brand building pressing on his shoulders. "We'll choose transparency. Release everything. Confirm this fraud was confined to 12 branches, and clearly outline the measures we're implementing to ensure it never happens again. The media will tear us apart," the PR director murmured. Noah looked him straight in the eye. "Let them. I built Chicky Pop on quality and trust. I won't sacrifice that just to protect the stock price." As night fell, Noah convened a meeting with the remaining staff. The atmosphere in the restaurant was hushed. Part fear, part relief. "I owe you all an apology," Noah began, his eyes scanning each face. "Our system failed to protect you. Those who tried to speak up were silenced. That's my responsibility." Dion stepped forward from the seating area. "What about the restaurant, sir?" What will happen to us? Noah paused. He didn't see employees. He saw individuals who had chosen to trust a small brand to support their families. We will rebuild, better than before, he said, his voice steady and resolute. Starting tomorrow, the restaurant will be fully restocked with authentic ingredients. We'll implement a new nationwide monitoring system. And we need good people to help restore the reputation we've lost here. He turned to Dion. You did the right thing, even when it wasn't easy. How would you feel about temporarily taking on the manager role until we complete our restructuring? Dion stood frozen. Me? But I'm just a cook. You're the kind of person Chicky Pop was built upon. Noah replied, someone who upholds ethics and cares about what we serve to families. The night passed. Once everyone had left, Noah stood silently in the empty restaurant, bathed in soft yellow light. The scandal would cost the company millions. But the real price was trust, and he was determined to rebuild it. One chicken nugget at a time. 3 months later, sunlight streamed through the clear glass of the newly renovated Chicky Pop Houston branch. The open kitchen allowed customers to observe the preparation process. New equipment hummed quietly. Employees worked with renewed energy. Orders are up 30% compared to before the scandal, Dion reported, now proudly wearing the red and yellow manager uniform. The loyalty program has brought most of our old customers back. Noah bit into a nugget, slightly spicy, perfectly salted, subtly aromatic, just like his mother's recipe. He smiled. Exactly right. How's the new supply chain control system working? Smoothly, Dion responded. Each shipment is photographed, logged, and randomly inspected. QR codes link directly to headquarters. No one can approve orders alone anymore. Outside, a large banner hung above the cashier. Real ingredients, real responsibility. Not just a slogan, a new commitment. Alicia approached, holding a tablet. The court sentencing is today. Would you like to attend? Noah shook his head. I've said enough in the statement submitted to the court. The law will handle the rest. Renee Poulsen and her accomplices had been prosecuted for fraud and food safety violations. The investigation also revealed that her brother-in-law had supplied contaminated meat to several other establishments previously. But for Noah Langston, justice wasn't solely about the courtroom. It was about making things right, step by step, person by person, dish by dish. Ultimately, the fraud network extended beyond Chicky Pop. Horizon Foods, the plant that had supplied the contaminated batches, was permanently shut down by the FDA. Alicia approached Noah, tablet in hand, her voice steady but weighty. The media is buzzing, she said. On the screen was a headline, Uncovering the Food Fraud Network. Chicky Pop CEO personally exposes the culprits. Noah glanced at the article, then turned his gaze back to the restaurant. To him, it wasn't the headlines that mattered. It was the families dining safely inside. The employees, once fearful of losing their jobs, now working in an environment that valued truth and ethics. Mr. Langston? A timid voice interrupted his thoughts. It was Tasha, now wearing an assistant manager badge on her uniform. The students have arrived for their tour. Noah smiled. The community education program was his idea, bringing students in to learn about food safety and restaurant operations. Part of the effort to rebuild trust. One community at a time. Let them in, he said, adjusting his tie. 20 high school students entered the kitchen, eyes wide with curiosity. Noah welcomed them with a candid story about his entrepreneurial journey, from his mother's small kitchen to a national chain. He deliberately avoided mentioning the scandal. Today wasn't about past mistakes. It was about rising after them. As the tour neared its end, a young girl raised her hand. My dad said you caught the bad guys selling fake chicken. Is that true? The child's innocent candor made Noah pause. He chose his words carefully. What's true is that we've faced a challenge, he said, and we learned an important lesson. Quality isn't just about a good recipe. It's about ensuring everyone in the company shares the right values. After the students departed, his phone vibrated. It was the attorney. "Everything's finalized," she said succinctly. Renee received an 8-year sentence, her brother-in-law 12. The involved managers got between 3 to 6 years, along with full restitution to Chicky Pop. Noah quietly expressed his gratitude. It wasn't a feeling of triumph, but a subdued relief. Justice had been served, but the cost was significant. That evening, after the restaurant closed, Noah gathered all the staff. He stood among those who had helped revive a brand that had nearly collapsed. "I want to thank each of you," he began. 6 months ago, this place was at the center of a scandal. Today, you've transformed it into a symbol of Chicky Pop's resurgence. He looked toward Dion and Tasha. Some of you tried to speak up, but no one listened. That will never happen again. Noah unveiled a polished steel plaque. Quality begins with integrity. This crisis taught us that a good recipe or process isn't enough to ensure quality, Noah continued. It's the people with the courage to say no to wrongdoing, even when no one is watching, that form the solid foundation of any brand. As the final applause faded, Noah walked through the restaurant once more, his eyes scanning each corner like revisiting a vivid memory. At the corner table near the window, he saw the former cashier, now wearing a trainee manager uniform, intently reading the company handbook. "How's the training going?" he asked, stopping beside the table. She looked up, surprised that the CEO was checking in. "It's going well, but there's a lot to learn." "So, what's the most important thing you've learned?" Noah asked gently. She thought for a moment, then replied sincerely, "That we're not just selling food. We're keeping a promise to every customer." Noah smiled. "Exactly. Never forget that." As he drove away from the restaurant, Noah reflected on everything. From a single nugget that didn't taste right, a whirlwind of crisis had swept through the company. The fraud was a betrayal, but the response to it was the turning point. The next day, financial newspapers reported Chicky Pop's stock had fully recovered, even surpassing pre-scandal levels. Experts hailed it as a textbook example of crisis leadership. But for Noah Langston, the true measure of success was much simpler. The genuine smile of a child enjoying dinner with their family. The trust of employees, knowing they worked in a company that valued human values over profits. And above all, a deep belief that when storms come, a business isn't destroyed by adversity, but its true nature is revealed.